Today with us, we have Miss Candace Rodman, and she holds a master's degree in sports science and rehabilitation through Logan University and currently serves Randolph, Macon, and Lynn counties as a nutrition and health education specialist for the University of Missouri Extension. And in this role, Candace is able to bring the university's reach-based nutrition and health courses to rural communities in Missouri. She also serves as the Missouri Council for Activity and Nutrition Director, which acts to unify Missouri organizations, healthcare professionals, educators, government officials, and public health entities to create policies that better the health for all Missourians.
Great. So we're going to talk about self-care today. I think self-care is highly, highly important. It's also one of the biggest things that a lot of us put to the wayside, especially when you're a caregiver. It is very easy to be a caregiver only and not to focus on ourselves. And I think that is the worst thing we can do for ourselves. We need to take care of our own before we can take care of anyone else. And that's why it's so important. It's so imperative to all of your relationships. And so we're going to talk about a few ways to help do that. So first of all, if you've ever flown on an airplane, you have heard the following. In the case of a change in cabin pressure, be sure to place the resulting oxygen mask over your own face first before assisting anyone else, even your own children. That was my best flight attendant voice. I hope I did it service. So yeah, we've all heard this, right? And sometimes you hear a flight attendant say that on an airplane and you think they are absolutely bananas. Why would I put my own oxygen mask on first when my child is sitting beside me, or my best friend, or my spouse, my partner, anything? They need help, I'm going to help them. I'm a caregiver, right? By nature, we all are caregivers here. And it would be so easy to just help them get their stuff together before you even think about putting your own on. And that is the beautiful thing about empathetic people and the caregivers that we all are. However, there's a really smart reason why flight attendants say this on airplanes. If your child beside you loses consciousness, they're still breathing, okay? If you lose consciousness, however, you will not be able to help them beyond anything else. Beyond that moment, if you passed out, you're also still breathing, but you can't help them do anything else. So if you put your mask on first, you can ensure that you're not going to pass out, you're not going to lose consciousness, and then you can help them get their stuff together and you can be their support moving forward. And the intent is to make sure that you're going to be capable of helping them beyond the immediate necessity, right? And this case can be applied to our everyday lives. We need to take care of ourselves before we can even take care of anyone else. We need to have our mental capacity, our environment, our physical environment all put together so we can ensure that we're stable enough to help someone else. And then there's all sorts of pillars of self-care, and there's different resources that define different things, but the major ones are mental self-care, emotional, physical, environmental, spiritual, recreational, and social. In general, you want to make sure basically you are well-rounded. If you just say, oh, I eat really well, I have nutritional health, that is self-care, but that's only one small bit of it. Okay, so we need to make sure that we're combining as many of those things as we can to make sure we have a well-rounded self-care regimen. That way we can make sure other people are taken care of as well. So the first little bit we're going to talk about is nutrition. Here's some 5 habits that can help improve, just easy things that you do to help improve your nutrition. Number 1, drink water. I would love to be able to tell you exactly how much water to drink, right? We all hear 64 ounces, that's been thrown around. Half your body weight in ounces, that's been thrown around. The real answer is we don't know. And it's different for every person. So 64 ounces may be perfect for me. It may not be perfect for Yvette, right? So it's how you feel. So I guarantee you that if you all increased your water consumption by a couple glasses a day, you'd feel a little bit better. And you'll notice that. And so once you gauge, okay, I do feel better when I have around 50 ounces a day, or if I make sure and drink a 32 ounce at my desk while I'm at work, and then I supplement, in the evenings with my supper or things like that. Perfect. Great question. So it's still considered a diuretic. Okay. So it's in that coffee with, or that category with coffee, because it does have caffeine. It has way less caffeine. I wish I had the numbers in front of me, but in general, the amount of caffeine that we can consume equals about 4 cups a day. That's about 4 cups of regular, not strong, not espresso, regular coffee. 4 cups is generally a healthy amount of caffeine. And with tea, that number increases, to 5 or 6 cups. So you can increase the amount of tea you want to drink because there's a little bit less caffeine if the caffeine is what you're worried about, but it does count towards your water consumption because, as we know, tea is full of water. So that's really good. Now, when you turn to sweet tea, there's a lot of sugar in tea. Okay. And you're not making it on your own. Okay. Even those diet ones, it's just the age-old argument about aspartame and its linkages to certain health effects and things like that. So it's going to have a sugar supplement or sugar replacement. If I go into more of that, it'll be personal opinion on sugar versus like a sugar replacement. We need less of both is what I'll say on that, if that makes sense. I hope that answers your question. The next easy habit is eating small. I don't know if you've been to a restaurant lately. Those plates are massive and they fill them. We don't need that much. There's a difference between portion size and serving size. So serving size is what you'll find on the label on the back of every item you have to, or that you buy. It's a legal thing that has to be there. Portion size is how much of those mashed potatoes you plop on your plate. And that is all between you and God, how much that portion size is, right? And so we tend to overportion ourselves. A hot tip that I do, take it or leave it. When I go to a restaurant, they bring my food out. I go ahead and ask for a box immediately. They bring me a box. I throw half of it in the box. If I'm still hungry by the time I ate half of my plate worth, then I'll dive into my to-go box, right? But generally, I'm like, whew, I'm full. Glad I didn't eat the whole thing. I have lunch the next day. So I don't even tempt myself with trying to eat the whole plate while I'm sitting there, because I grew up in the generation, believe it or not, where it was horrible to leave food on your plate, right? There are starving kids out there, Candace. You better finish your plate, clean plate, happy plate. A lot of us probably grew up in that generation where our parents were telling us that, and they didn't know any better, but that's really a bad mental thing for children to hear, and it sticks with us throughout life. And I have a sense of guilt if I leave food on my plate. I don't know about y'all, but I feel terrible about it because I have this ingrained vision of starving kids in the world. So instead of wasting it, we put it in a box, we take it home, we eat it later, right? Generally, historically, plates that we purchase and buy and sit in our cabinets at home that we eat supper on every night have gotten larger. Automatically purchasing larger plates, and our mind doesn't realize that, and we fill the plate full of food. So eating smaller is a good way to balance that out and balance our portion sizes. Third one, eating breakfast. Everyone always says breakfast is the most important meal, and they are not wrong, because you just slept generally about 8 hours. Your body has depleted its supply of glucose. That's your blood sugar. And that's your brain's energy source, okay? So after 8 hours, you don't have a brain energy source. You think you're getting it from that cup of coffee, okay? But you need fuel. Your body and your brain and your blood needs fuel, and it's going to come from food.
Exactly.
Yeah, good question. And I'll tie it in with number 4 here, the limit empty calories. So donuts are empty calories. If you are going to eat something and there is no nutritional value, there's no vitamins, there's no minerals, there's no nutrients, there's no protein, there's no fiber, there's no vitamin D, vitamin A, then it's an empty calorie and you're eating it just to feel good, to, enjoy a donut. And by all means, enjoy your donuts every once in a while, y'all. I love a donut. Okay. Not going to lie. I love a donut, but I don't eat them often because they're empty calories. So when I say eat breakfast, eat something that's going to have vitamins, minerals, and an energy source. Okay. So that energy source can be carbs. Okay. So yes, I guess we can argue a donut is carbs, but you need to have a lot of other things mixed in there with it. Yogurt is great. You need some dairy. You'll have some protein in that yogurt as well, which will give you energy. It's an easy time to throw in some fruit servings that you need throughout the day. You can get protein out of eggs, things like that. The proteins and carbs are what's going to jumpstart your energy for the day. Coffee is going to be a caffeine, short-lived energy source. Okay, protein is going to be a longer lasting energy source. So focus on some protein when you wake up in the morning. And again, it's an easy way to throw in a serving of fruit and grains if you like, excuse me, if you like oatmeals and raisin bran and things like that. Bagels, wheat bagels, if you can find a whole wheat bagel, that's a great source. Smear a little cream cheese. Don't feel guilty about your cream cheese, okay? Because you need dairy as well. Yeah, get creative, but a hearty breakfast is really gonna take you pretty far throughout the day. Okay, you'll be probably less hungry at lunchtime. And I know it's a really hard habit to break if you're not eating breakfast and you have never eaten breakfast. Everyone says, oh, I don't eat breakfast. I'm not hungry until lunch. Your stomach may not be hungry, but your brain is. That's how I like to say it. Your brain is going to be starving for some sort of nutrients, and it really will make a difference. Even if it's a small breakfast, doesn't have to be big. This next slide, I'll go ahead and flip over, is gonna have kind of your serving suggestions. And so now we have the My Plate. So that's what this plate is on the screen. And it will show you the how your plate should look ideally at every meal. Okay, so you'll have your fruits, grains, veggies, protein. The grain and veggies a little bit higher, so they're a little bit bigger. And then just a scotch of dairy on the side. That's how our plate should look almost every meal. Now on the left, those serving sizes are per day, not per meal, just to be clear. So 2.5 veggies, 2 fruits, 6 grains, dairy, and protein. Okay, so to give you, and the reason we talk about nutrition so in depth is this: nutrition can really delay or prevent chronic conditions. That's your high blood pressure, your heart disease, macular degeneration in your eyes, type 2 diabetes, things like that. Okay, that's where nutrition is going to play the biggest role. And those are the things, all of those chronic conditions can lead to other chronic conditions as well. So focus on your nutrition as much as you can. So kind of to give an example, because I know serving kind of sounds ambiguous. So 1 serving of a vegetable, okay, is going to be about 2 cups of a leafy green, like spinach, 2 cups of spinach, 1 cup of like some chopped up veggies, you know, like some chopped up carrots, or I don't know, whatever your favorite vegetable is. About a cup of that is about a serving. Just to give you a little bit of an idea. Fruit. So 1 serving of a fruit is about 1 medium whole fruit. So I'd say like an apple. That's 1 serving. A cup of cut up fruit is about a serving, and you can have 2 of those a day, at least. A cup of fruit juice, but make sure it's 100% fruit juice. Otherwise, they're just going to add a bunch of sugar and crap. So you don't need that. Examples of 1 serving of grain, 1 slice of bread. Okay, so if you're making a sandwich and you're portioning out your servings for the day, if you have two pieces of bread for that sandwich, that's going to be 2 servings. So things to think about when you're, and this can get really into the weeds and really detailed. I like to look at nutrition in a very simplistic way. I think there's no need for us to be counting calories or macros versus micros. You know what you put on your plate and you look at it, you know whether it's healthy or not. We're all smart. We all grew up learning the difference between fried chicken and grilled chicken, which one's healthier, right? So we know better. Just make the healthier choices every once in a while. I'm also a firm believer in rewarding yourself. I will eat a donut. I'm not going to turn down a cookie. I'm going to have cake on my birthday and your birthday too. Okay. And so there's nothing wrong with that. You must reward yourself or you will fill your life with regret and you'll be drooling over everyone else's cookies and then you'll be unhappy and then it can lead to overeating and then you'll eat 10 cookies, right? It's all a mental game too. Everything in moderation, you know what you put on your plate is healthy. So speaking of those chronic conditions, heart health, huge, huge, huge topic in America, especially. We're not great with our hearts. Us Americans treat our hearts so poorly. And it's so easy to tackle with that nutrition piece that we talked about, and also with activity. And 150 minutes is the recommendation. Again, one of those fun facts that you probably already knew. Okay. But do you do it? 150 minutes, 30 minutes a day seems pretty easy. That moderate intensity, what it's talking about here, moderate levels are normal human levels. So moderate is when you are doing that exercise, whatever it is, dancing, jogging, hanging out with your kids at the playground, you should still be able to talk at a normal rate, like you and I are talking right now, without having to struggle and you feel like you're dying. Okay. If you're doing that, it's intense. Take it down a notch, take a deep breath. And then the big pieces that people often miss are strength training. And then as we age, we need to make sure we are adding flexibility. So we're all probably sitting in a chair right now. You can sit and do stretches while you're sitting in this chair. Put your arm across your body here and pull it, stretch that shoulder out. It's really good for our upper back since we sit a lot at our desks. Switch arms, right? You can do these things while you're sitting at your chair. You don't have to make specific time for it, right? Even if you wanted to back your chair up away from your desk, stick your legs straight out in front of you and kind of reach for your toes. That's going to stretch out your hamstrings, right? Okay. You can do those throughout the workday. There's no specific time that you need to be working on flexibility. But flexibility is really important in injury prevention. So you mentioned that my degree's in sports rehabilitation. Anyone comes in with an injury, we ask them, do you ever stretch? Well, no. Well, that's probably why you're here today. I like to call it the Tootsie Roll method. Now, if I took a Tootsie Roll and I put it in the freezer and I took it out later and I tried to bend it, what's going to happen to the Tootsie Roll? It's going to break, right? It's not going to bend. It's going to break. Now, if I have the Tootsie Roll that's been in my pocket all day long, sitting nice and warm in my jeans, and I try and bend it, or I drop it on the ground, it's just going to be like, it's going to flex, right? And it's going to be okay. And it's still going to be all in one piece, right? Now, picture all of your ligaments and tendons and your joints in every joint in your body. It's full of Tootsie Rolls. All those tendons, ligaments, muscles, picture them as Tootsie Rolls. We stretch and warm those up before exercise. So they are warm Tootsie Rolls. And so they will bend and they'll be pliable and you'll prevent injury. Now, if you're cold and you just start running a mile, okay, or if you never stretch, those get tight, okay, and compact. And then if you do happen to fall and you catch yourself with your arm, all those Tootsie Rolls in your shoulder are going to break. They're going to tear. They're not going to be flexible. They're not going to prevent an injury. So now you'll never think of your joints again other than Tootsie Rolls living in your body. You're welcome. So that's why that's important. You should always stretch. Even if you're just going for a walk, do a few stretches, and I don't need to go over a bunch of stretches. Google it. There's 8 billion ways to stretch. There's no right or wrong way. Just do what feels good. Hold a stretch for like 15 seconds and you'll get that really good deep stretch. All right. So the next big one, sleep. Adults are going to need between 7 and 9 hours. If you're not getting good sleep, you may feel like you're waking up and you're still not rested. If you wake up a bunch of times in the middle of the night, and that's not just to go to the bathroom, but you're just like kind of awake, that means you're kind of light sleeping. You're not getting that good deep sleep. If you're experiencing symptoms of some sleep disorders like If you are a big time snorer, your partner's like, hey, you're sawing logs every night and it's disrupting my sleep. If you wake up gasping for air, that apnea type thing, those are all good signs that you're not getting really great sleep. So maybe talk to your doctor about it and make sure there's ways to do sleep studies, things like that. Insufficient sleep has been linked to the development and management of a number of chronic conditions, things we've already talked about, like type 2 diabetes, those cardiovascular heart diseases, obesity, depression, all the things can all be linked to sleep. So make sure you're getting good sleep at night. It's really important, and it really makes your day go by differently. Okay. So everybody look at the lemons. Sorry for the folks on the phone, there's this wonderful, beautiful picture of a nice, juicy, cut up, bright yellow, wet looking lemon. Okay. So we're going to take a second. Mindfulness is really, really important, y'all. And it doesn't have to be meditation. I feel like people think mindfulness equals meditation. Not true. Okay. Mindfulness, it's going to impact your positive emotions, antibodies in your body, which can help with immunity, brain function, focus, all those things can be linked to mindfulness, and it can be in any way, shape, or form. It can be meditation. It can be paying attention to the world around you when you go on a walk in the afternoons, looking at the leaves, smelling the air. And you guys, I know, can all picture the smell of incoming rain, can't you? Paying attention to that, right? Reading a book is a form of mindfulness because you're getting out of your head and focusing on a story, right? Writing a list of things you're grateful for can be a form of mindfulness. Okay, so for this, here's a good practice. It's a little bit of a distraction technique too, if you use it properly. So we're going to sit back in our chairs. If you're sitting in a chair, okay, relax, get comfortable. This is going to be quick, I promise. If you want, you can close your eyes, okay, if you feel comfortable with it. Just listen. So while you're relaxing, imagine that there's a bowl of beautiful, fresh lemons right in front of you. These lemons are fresh from the tree, and the oil on the rind is still really fragrant. So allow yourself to enjoy that lemony smell. Okay. Smell that lemon. Now imagine taking one of those lemons from the bowl. Bring it up to your nose. Just smell that fragrant oil. Can you feel the oil and the smooth skin of the lemon? Now imagine that lemon's been cut in two. Now bring it to your mouth and take a big bite of that lemon. You can taste the juice. Okay. All right, you can open your eyes. What happened when you took a bite out of the lemon?
Ew.
Yeah.
It was sour like.
Did anyone else's jaw clench up a little bit? Yeah, sour. We all know that feeling of taking a bite where sometimes your mouth will water just thinking about taking a bite of a lemon or something like that. Okay, that's mindfulness. That is paying attention to your senses. Okay, it brings you to the present. That's what mindfulness is all about, is bringing you to right now, to the lemon, to the book you're reading, to the walk you're taking, to the things you're grateful for, to the conversation you're having at dinner, things like that. That's why it's important, because otherwise, I don't know about y'all, but my mind goes a million miles an hour all through the day while I'm at work, while I'm at home, and it needs to rest. Okay, so that mindfulness is really important. Yvette starting these meetings with a mindfulness minute is really important. It brings our focus inwards. Okay, so I encourage everyone to practice that every single day. And just remember, it doesn't have to be sitting and meditating. It doesn't have to be picturing biting into a lemon. Okay, it's just one way to bring your focus in. Okay, so think about that. And then the last thing is your why. So why do you think you need to make these healthy habits and practice self-care for yourself? Okay, we talked about Some reasons why we put our oxygen mask on first is for other people, right? Is it because you're a caregiver? Do you want to practice self-care because you're a role model for someone else, a child, an adult, anyone else, people in your classes, things you do for a living? Because you want to spend a lot of years with your grandkids. You want to enjoy that retirement that you've worked so hard for all these years. You want to really enjoy that retirement. You want to go on trips. You want to be medication free. Maybe that's a goal. You want to be able to live in your home safely forever and ever and ever, without the fear of falling or things like that. So that's kind of the last thing I wanted to share with you guys is focus. It can be a mindful thing for you too. Focus on your why. Why do you think it's important to practice self-care, to focus on your health, focus on you before you can even think about focusing on someone else, okay? And I think that role model piece is a really big part of it, because we're all caregivers here, right? So if they notice you taking the time to make sure you're getting all those veggies in every day, and you're taking people on walks with you, and you're saying, hey, let's slow down and smell the spring air. Isn't it a lovely feeling to know that spring is coming and the air is crisp out here and it smells like rain might be coming and the sun is shining, those things. And they notice, people notice that, people you're around, your kids, everybody notices those things. So you need to set that model for them. Those good, healthy habits will model and they'll remember it for the rest of their lives. Okay. It's easier to start a healthy habit when you're a kid, right? When you're young. But think about your own why. I can't tell you what that is, right? So figure that out and focus on it and see why it's important for you and for anybody else. All right, that's all I have. What questions do we have? Did I miss any questions from the chat or anything? Empty calories. So any sort of Coke or soda, I'm from the South, we call them all Cokes, no matter the brand. And so any sort of Coke, whether it's diet or zero or all the things, is an empty calorie. Yeah, Dr. Pepper, zero sugar, right? It's the better choice. Those zeros are the better choice, right? I 100% agree with that. The problem is they are addictive with no nutrients. So you're not gaining anything, even from a Coke Zero or a regular Coke. It's just an addiction practice. And we all have those things that we need every day, even if it's just a cup of coffee, if it is a can of Coke, whatever. And so I think when people say the best thing they did was getting rid of something, it's because they replaced it with something healthier. And so it kind of contributed to that whole concept of I wanted to lose weight. And so I'm getting some things together. I'm dropping bad habits and I'm picking up healthy habits. Well, one, I would think it's a perfect time for you to learn together. Okay. It creates an accountability partners, make goals. Like, I don't know the statistic offhand, but it's something crazy, like 80% more achievable if you have an accountability partner with you, if you're having someone do it with you. So if your grandkids, you want to get them involved, you want to be a good role model, one thing at a time too. All of this stuff is not going to happen today, ever, for anybody. Anyone that's making a change is not going to do it, all of it today. We're going to be perfect humans going forward. Pick one thing. You said, maybe you don't eat breakfast. So maybe that's a time for you to be like, hey, kids, what do we want for breakfast tomorrow morning? We're going to try something small. I'm going to whip up some scrambled eggs really quickly, and we're going to sit down and eat some breakfast together. That's one single, small, fairly easy change to make. Genetics account for like 40% of our health that we have zero control over. No control. We are born with prepositions to whatever we're going to be born with, and you can't fight it. Okay, especially when we talk about weight loss and things, there are just some things you cannot fight your DNA. The only thing you can do is be the best while you're here, accept where you're at as well, and do your best. Just try. And I will say, when you talk about energy and stuff, eating eating good foods with protein and things like that are going to give you that energy. Even carbs, they're going to give you that energy. And as odd as it sounds, adding exercise will give you energy.
Candace, seriously, that, like Donna said, that was great, great, great. You're just a great presenter, and I've always appreciated it.
Thank you.
So, thank
thanks
you
for having
so
me.
much.